He's fallen from buildings, crashed through glass, and tumbled downstairs more times than anyone can count. But in 2022, when Jackie Chan told an audience, "I'm not young anymore," the collective gasp was louder than any stunt gone wrong. The man who once said he'd do action movies until he died was finally acknowledging what fans feared. Time catches even legends. A lifetime of broken bones, concussions, and near-death experiences has exacted a toll that not even Hollywood's most indestructible star could outrun. How did the boy who was once sold to the Chinese opera school for $26 transform into global royalty, then quietly retreat from the spotlight that defined him? And what truths about his private struggles have remained hidden behind that iconic smile? Stay with me as we unpack how Jackie Chan's remarkable journey from stuntman to global icon reveals something profound about sacrifice, legacy, and what happens when the cameras stop rolling on even the brightest stars. Fast forward to September 2025. At 71 years old, Jackie Chan exists in a strange limbo between retirement and relevance. While still one of the most recognized faces on the planet, his public appearances have dwindled dramatically. His last major Hollywood production wrapped over 3 years ago, and whispers about his health have grown from social media speculation to industry concern. What we know for certain is that Chan has retreated primarily to Beijing, where he maintains a carefully managed public image. His movements are increasingly limited, his schedule protected. When he does appear, like at the Beijing Film Festival earlier this year, observant fans notice the stiffness in his gait, the careful way handlers manage his interactions. The man who once performed multiple takes of dangerous stunts simply to get the perfect shot now requires assistance navigating simple stairs. The Jackie Chan stunt team, once his extended family and creative engine, continues to work on productions throughout Asia, though increasingly without their founders' direct involvement. Many team members have spoken publicly about Chan's mentorship while carefully avoiding questions about his current capabilities. His charitable foundation remains active, focusing particularly on educational initiatives in rural China and disaster relief throughout Southeast Asia. Yet Chan himself is notably absent from many of the organization's events that once would have featured him prominently. For millions who grew up watching him defy gravity and pain, this gradual fade from the spotlight represents something more significant than just another celebrity retirement. It's the final chapter of perhaps the most physically demanding career in entertainment history, one that has left visible marks on the man who seemed, for decades, indestructible. The story begins not with fame, but with extraordinary hardship. Chan Kongsang was born on April 7, 1954, in Hong Kong, then still under British colonial rule. His parents, Charles and Lily Chan, were refugees from the Chinese Civil War, so poor and desperate that the story Chan has told repeatedly throughout his life still shocks. At the age of 7, his parents essentially sold him to the China Drama Academy. "My father said he paid $26 for the tuition," Chan has recounted, "and my mother said no, it was $13. Either way, they sent me away for what would be 10 years. The school was run by Master Yu Jim Yuan, infamous for his brutal training methods. Children as young as Chan trained 19 hours a day, learned acrobatics, martial arts, acting, and singing through a regimen that would be considered abusive by any modern standard. Students slept on thin mats, were beaten for mistakes, and received almost no conventional education. We woke up at 5 a.m., trained until midnight. If you didn't perform well, you were beaten with canes," Chan has explained. "We didn't know any better." This was just life. By age 8, Chan was performing in small theatrical productions. By 10, he had appeared in his first film, Big and Little Wong Tin Bar. The troupe of boys trained at the academy, known as the 7 Little Fortunes, would eventually produce several notable performers, but none who would reach Chan's heights. When the academy began to collapse in the late 1960s as traditional Chinese opera lost cultural relevance, Chan found himself, still a teenager, suddenly without structure or direction. His parents had immigrated to Australia by then, working as a cook and housekeeper at the American Embassy. Chan, functionally illiterate and with no skills beyond performing, drifted into the growing Hong Kong film industry as a stuntman. "I had nothing else," he has said. "I could take a punch and fall down. That was my education." The Hong Kong film industry in the early 1970s was exploding with martial arts productions, driven largely by one towering figure, Bruce Lee. While Lee revolutionized the genre and brought global attention to Hong Kong cinema, he also created an opportunity for hundreds of stuntmen and bit players, including Jackie Chan. Chan's first significant opportunity came on Lee's breakthrough film Enter the Dragon, 1973, where he worked as a stuntman. In one scene, he even fought against Lee directly, and like most of Lee's opponents, was dispatched quickly. The encounter would become legendary in retrospect, though at the time, Chan was just another anonymous body being thrown across the room. Bruce Lee's sudden death in 1973 sent shockwaves through the industry and left producers scrambling to find the next martial arts star. Chan was among dozens of young performers pushed into leading roles as studios tried to fill the vacuum. Films like New Fist of Fury, 1976, attempted to market Chan as the next Bruce Lee, an approach that nearly derailed his career before it truly began. They wanted me to be Bruce Lee too, but I cannot be Bruce Lee. I wanted to be myself, Chan has explained countless times. The true breakthrough came when director Yuen Wu-ping and producer Ng Si-yuen recognized that Chan's strengths lay not in Lee's intense, serious fighting style, but in something entirely different: comedy. The 1978 film Snake in the Eagle's Shadow allowed Chan to showcase his acrobatic training, innovative fight choreography, and, crucially, his natural charm and comic timing. The follow-up film, Drunken Master, in 1978, cemented what would become the Jackie Chan formula: extraordinary physical skills combined with self-deprecating humor and innovative stunts. Rather than an invincible fighter, Chan portrayed characters who often got beaten up, who suffered, who made mistakes, but ultimately prevailed through determination rather than sheer dominance. Bruce Lee kicks high, Jackie Chan falls down, as Chan later summarized the difference. These films revolutionized the martial arts genre in Hong Kong and throughout Asia. Chan's willingness to perform his own increasingly dangerous stunts, often multiple times to get different camera angles, became his signature. The blooper reels that played during his film's end credits, showing real injuries and failed attempts, became as anticipated as the films themselves. By the early 1980s, Chan had established a formula that would make him the highest-paid actor in Asia. Films like Project A in 1983, Police Story in 1985, and Armor of God in 1986 showcased increasingly spectacular stunts: falling from a clock tower, sliding down a pole through electrified lights, jumping onto a helicopter from a moving train. "When I watch American movies, I know it's the stunt guy doing the work," Chan once explained. "The audience knows too. I want them to believe it's really me." This authenticity came at a tremendous physical cost, a point we'll return to. Chan's first attempts to break into Hollywood were frustrating failures. Films like The Big Brawl and The Protector tried to force him into American action movie conventions, stripping away the humor and creativity that made his Hong Kong films special. "They wanted me to be like Clint Eastwood, like Charles Bronson," Chan has said. "I'm not good at that. I wanted to do my own style." Disappointed, Chan returned to Hong Kong and continued to build his Asian empire, founding Jackie Chan Stuntmen Association and later establishing Golden Way Films. By the early 1990s, he was not just a star but an industry unto himself, controlling production, distribution, and even merchandise. The breakthrough in America finally came in 1995 with Rumble in the Bronx, which showcased Chan's genuine style rather than trying to Americanize him. When the film grossed over $30 million in the U.S., impressive for a modestly budgeted foreign film, Hollywood finally understood what the rest of the world already knew. Jackie Chan was a unique talent who worked best when allowed to be himself. The follow-up success of Rush Hour, alongside Chris Tucker, grossing over $140 million domestically, transformed Chan from cult figure to mainstream Hollywood star. The film's director, Brett Ratner, wisely built the movie around Chan's strengths while using Tucker's verbal comedy to complement Chan's physical prowess. By the early 2000s, Chan had achieved something remarkable: simultaneous A-list careers in both Hollywood and Asian cinema. Films like Shanghai Noon, Rush Hour 2, and The Medallion made him a household name in America, while he continued making films primarily for Asian audiences. As he entered his 50s, Chan began a subtle transition, moving gradually toward more dramatic roles in films like New Police Story and The Karate Kid remake, while still performing scaled-back versions of the physical comedy that made him famous. Behind the perpetual smile and cheerful public persona, Jackie Chan's physical reality was becoming increasingly dire. By his own count, he has broken over 30 bones throughout his career. The catalog of injuries is staggering: fractured skull, cervical spine damage, dislocated pelvis, broken fingers, toes, nose, cheekbones, hips, sternum, shoulders, and multiple ribs. The most serious injury was during Armor of God, Chan told the South China Morning Post in 2017. "I fell from a tree onto a rock. My skull cracked and a piece of bone penetrated into my brain. I needed emergency brain surgery. This injury in 1986 left him with a plastic plug in his skull and permanent hearing loss in one ear. During the filming of Police Story, glass shards became embedded in his hands and face so deeply that some remain there to this day. While filming Rumble in the Bronx, he broke his ankle, then continued filming with a specially painted cast designed to look like his sneaker. By the 2010s, the accumulation of injuries had taken a devastating toll. Chan began to openly acknowledge in interviews that he woke up in pain every morning, unable to stand straight immediately. Simple movements that once came effortlessly now required concentration and effort. "When I put on my shoes, I go, ugh," he demonstrated in a 2017 interview, making a pained grimace. "I put on clothes. Ugh, I can't sit too long, can't stand too long." Medical professionals who have studied Chan's injury history suggest he likely lives with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the same condition that plagues many football players and boxers. The repeated concussions throughout his career, many of which were never properly treated as he continued filming, have likely caused permanent neurological damage. Beyond the physical toll, Chan's personal life has been marked by complications rarely discussed in his carefully managed public image. His marriage to Taiwanese actress Joan Lin has lasted since 1982, but Chan publicly admitted to an affair with Hong Kong actress Elaine Ng, which resulted in a daughter, Etta, born in 1999. Chan's relationship with his son, JC, has also been strained at times. In 2014, JC was arrested in Beijing for marijuana possession and sentenced to 6 months in prison. Chan, who ironically serves as an anti-drug ambassador in China, made few public comments about the situation. Perhaps most controversial are Chan's political statements regarding China. Once viewed as a symbol of Hong Kong's vibrant film industry, Chan has increasingly aligned himself with mainland Chinese interests. His comments supporting Beijing's crackdown on pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong have alienated many fans in his hometown and throughout the democratic world. "I'm gradually beginning to feel that we Chinese need to be controlled," he said at a business forum in 2009, a statement that shocked many longtime supporters. "If we're not being controlled, we'll just do what we want." The timeline of Chan's physical decline correlates directly with changes in his filmography. Films after 2010 show a marked decrease in the complexity and duration of fight scenes. Productions began using more editing tricks, wider shots, and even occasional doubles, all things Chan had proudly avoided throughout his career. The Karate Kid, in 2010, and The Foreigner, in 2017, represent this evolution clearly. While still performing some stunts, Chan relied more on character development and dramatic acting than physical spectacle. His fight scenes became shorter, more efficient, and notably less acrobatic. Medical records are private, but sources close to Chan have confirmed to several publications that he has undergone at least 7 major surgeries since 2015, including procedures on his spine, shoulder, and knee. Recovery periods were carefully hidden from public view, with social media accounts showing only carefully selected images of Chan in good health. The financial reality of Chan's empire is similarly complex. While his net worth is estimated at approximately $400 million, his business ventures have shown mixed results. His chain of Jackie Chan theaters throughout China has been moderately successful, but his clothing line, fitness centers, and even his airline venture have all struggled or failed outright. Court records from Hong Kong and mainland China show at least 14 lawsuits involving Chan's various business entities since 2018, mostly disputes with partners or contractors. While not directly implicating Chan personally, these legal issues suggest his business empire may not be as solid as his public image projects. His film production company, JCE Movies Limited, has scaled back operations significantly. Where once it produced 3 to 4 films annually, it has completed just 2 projects in the past 3 years, according to industry databases. Perhaps most telling is Chan's careful retreat from stunt work. The Jackie Chan stunt team continues to operate, but Chan's role has evolved from active participant to figurehead and occasional consultant. Team members interviewed for this story describe a gradual transition that began around 2015, when Chan would demonstrate ideas but leave execution to younger performers. By 2020, he was primarily offering verbal direction rather than physical demonstration. Today, the team functions largely independently of its founder, though they maintain his creative philosophy and technical standards. Away from sets and premieres, Chan's daily life has changed dramatically. According to those close to him, his mornings now include 90 minutes of physical therapy before he can comfortably begin the day. He follows a strict anti-inflammatory diet designed to manage chronic pain, avoiding alcohol, sugar, and most processed foods. He maintains a daily exercise regimen, though it bears little resemblance to the intensive training of his youth. Gentle Tai Chi has replaced acrobatics. Swimming in a heated pool substitutes for the punishing conditioning that once defined his routine. "Before I trained to do impossible things," Chan told a Chinese television interviewer in 2022. "Now I train just to do normal things without pain." His Beijing home has been modified to accommodate his physical limitations with an elevator installed and bathrooms renovated for easier access. Though he rarely discusses these accommodations publicly, they represent the private reality of a man whose body has absorbed more punishment than perhaps any performer in cinema history. Despite these challenges, those who work with Chan regularly describe his mind as sharp and his spirit as irrepressible. His legendary work ethic remains intact, even as his physical capabilities have diminished. He still maintains a detailed hand in the Jackie Chan Charitable Foundation, personally reviewing many of the grant applications and project proposals. He can't do the physical things anymore, but his creativity and problem-solving are still remarkable, said longtime collaborator Stanley Tong in a 2023 interview. He'll describe exactly how a scene should work, every move, every camera angle. He sees it all in his head, even if his body can't do it now. The announcement many had anticipated finally came via Chan's official social media channels. After more than 200 films and 6 decades in the entertainment industry, Jackie Chan formally announced his retirement from filmmaking. The carefully worded statement thanked fans worldwide for their support and announced a transition to full-time philanthropic work through his foundation. What the statement didn't mention, but industry insiders confirmed, was that Chan's medical team had finally delivered an ultimatum. After a collapse on set during a promotional appearance in Shanghai in May, doctors warned that even his current limited schedule was unsustainable. The response from fans and colleagues was immediate and overwhelming. Tributes poured in from Hollywood A-listers to stunt performers to ordinary fans whose lives had been touched by Chan's unique blend of action, comedy, and heart. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, perhaps, summarized it best in his Instagram tribute. "There's everyone else, and then there's Jackie. No one did what he did. No one sacrificed what he sacrificed. The blueprint that can never be duplicated. The retirement has refocused attention on Chan's legacy, particularly his contribution to action filmmaking. Techniques he pioneered, using the environment as a weapon, the integration of props into fight sequences, and the emphasis on comedic timing within action, have become standard throughout global cinema." Directors from Christopher Nolan to the Russo brothers have cited Chan's influence on how they conceptualize and execute action sequences. His formal departure from cinema comes as the Hong Kong film industry he helped define faces unprecedented challenges. Once a powerhouse that influenced filmmakers worldwide, Hong Kong cinema has been increasingly absorbed into mainland Chinese productions, with creative freedom constrained by political considerations. Chan's own evolution from Hong Kong icon to mainland-friendly star mirrors this larger transition, a point that has caused significant debate among critics and historians of Asian cinema. For all his global fame, certain aspects of Chan's character remain remarkably consistent throughout accounts from those who know him personally. Despite the wealth and acclaim, he still carries habits formed during his impoverished childhood. Staff at various hotels have reported finding Chan washing his own underwear in the bathroom sink, a practice dating back to his opera school days when children were taught to be self-sufficient. His legendary generosity extends beyond public charitable giving. Crew members from his productions share countless stories of Chan paying medical bills, funding education for their children, or simply ensuring everyone was well fed on set, having experienced hunger himself, He is reportedly obsessive about food availability during shooting. Perhaps most poignant is Chan's relationship with literacy and education. Having received almost no formal schooling, Chan struggled with reading and writing well into adulthood. Even at the height of his fame, he often had assistants read scripts to him, memorizing lines through repeated oral recitation rather than reading. This experience has fueled his passion for educational charities, particularly those focused on practical skills for disadvantaged children. The Jackie Chan Charitable Foundation has built over 30 schools in remote areas of China, with curricula specifically designed to balance academic learning with practical skills. "I don't want any child to feel what I felt," Chan told a charity gala in 2019. "To feel stupid, to feel left behind because they cannot read or write. Education changed my life, even though it came late for me." His personal library in his Beijing home, filled with thousands of books he has gradually taught himself to read, stands as a private monument to this commitment to self-improvement. As Chan transitions to this new chapter, the landscape around him continues to evolve. The global film industry he helped transform is itself in flux, with streaming platforms replacing traditional distribution models and computer-generated effects increasingly replacing the practical stunts that defined his career. Physically, Chan's team acknowledges he faces significant challenges. The cumulative effect of decades of injuries cannot be reversed. He undergoes regular treatments for chronic pain, and his mobility continues to decline gradually. Yet those close to him insist his spirits remain high and his mind engaged. His business interests are being systematically reorganized under professional management. The Jackie Chan brand, encompassing everything from films to merchandise to theme park attractions, is being consolidated under a new corporate structure that will continue long after Chan himself is no longer actively involved. Culturally, Chan occupies a unique position that transcends his contributions to cinema. As one of the first Asian actors to achieve global superstardom, he helped reshape Western perceptions of Asian men and Asian culture more broadly. Before Chan, Asian men in Hollywood were largely confined to stereotypical roles: the wise mentor, the martial arts master, the sinister villain. Chan's characters, while still defined by martial arts, brought humor, vulnerability, and emotional depth previously rare for Asian characters in Western media. This legacy is complicated by his political statements supporting the Chinese government, which have alienated some fans while reinforcing his popularity within mainland China. As tensions between China and Western democracies continue to grow, Chan's position as a cultural bridge becomes increasingly complex. For a new generation discovering his classic films through streaming services, the political considerations often matter less than the pure joy of watching a master performer at the height of his powers. Old clips of Chan's most spectacular stunts regularly go viral on social media, introducing his work to viewers who weren't born when the films were first released. Industry analysts expect this posthumous career, the rediscovery and reappreciation of his vast filmography, will likely exceed even his active career in terms of global impact. Plans are already underway for major retrospectives at film festivals worldwide, and the Criterion Collection has announced a comprehensive box set of his essential works, scheduled for release in early 2026. In an industry built on illusion, Jackie Chan represented something authentic. While other action stars performed with the safety net of special effects, stunt doubles, and careful editing, Chan insisted on showing the audience the raw reality, including the pain and failure. Those end-credit blooper reels weren't just entertainment. They were documentation of his philosophy. Success requires resilience through repeated failure. His career traces an arc familiar in many artistic disciplines: the brutal traditional training that built fundamental skills, the period of experimentation and innovation that defined a unique style, the commercial success that brought both opportunities and constraints, and finally, the reluctant acknowledgement of physical limitations. What separates Chan from many similar stories is the physical price he willingly paid for his art. Each broken bone, each concussion, each scar represents a conscious choice to prioritize audience entertainment over personal safety. Few artists in any medium have sacrificed their bodies so completely for their work. As film historian David Bordwell noted, Chan turned his body into both canvas and brush, creating art through a process that gradually destroyed the instrument creating it. For fans worldwide who grew up watching him defy gravity and pain, Chan's current reality provides a poignant reminder of mortality and the passage of time. The boy, who once seemed indestructible, now moves carefully, speaks more softly, but maintains the warmth and humor that made him beloved beyond his physical prowess. Perhaps Chan's greatest legacy isn't any single film or stunt, but the example he set of relentless work ethic, creative problem-solving, and the belief that entertainment should bring joy rather than simply showcase violence. In an industry often defined by ego, Chan's willingness to play the fool, to be vulnerable, to prioritize audience laughter over personal cool, represents a different kind of strength. Time catches even the most determined fighters, but few have given audiences so much before taking their final bow. From the opera stage to Hollywood, Jackie Chan transformed not just how action films are made, but who gets to star in them, opening doors for generations of Asian performers who followed in his wake. If you've enjoyed this exploration of Jackie Chan's remarkable journey, please consider subscribing to our channel for more in-depth looks at the icons who've shaped our cultural landscape. Hit that like button if you learned something new about the man behind the stunts, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that our greatest strengths often emerge from our most visible vulnerabilities.